you should be taking this as a requirement, this particular session anyway, but I just want to record it. Anyway, so we will be recording those. So basically, you can log in. It'll be at 5 o'clock on Monday, Wednesday, and that'll include, which is the normal meeting time. I think it's from 4:30 to 5:50. So I split the difference, and those lectures will probably be an hour plus, because I'm going to include the workshop and lab part of that as well. It'll be separated though, but it'll be basically a meeting at the same time. And the advantage to you is that if you attend those, you'll get to ask questions. And see, that's the difference between a synchronous and an asynchronous class. Is an asynchronous class is purely recorded. A synchronous class is in real time. So what I'm doing is I'm going to allow any of my students to participate in my Zoom session, just as if we were in person. And I'm going to record that at the same time. Now, the advantage to you is you get to ask questions. As I'm going along, if I'm going too fast for you, you can say, could you back up to step, 2 steps back and go over that again? Or how did you cancel those 2 units or whatever? So that's the advantage. And you're more than welcome. It's totally optional because all the sessions will be recorded. So that's the modification that I've made. And the rest of the department is totally asynchronous. No one meets one-to-one except my class. But I think it's better pedagogically for you. Particularly, most of the time, the students that do attend those sessions do well because they're actually right there and they can pinpoint exactly what I'm going over and whether it makes sense or not. Okay, does that make sense? And it'll be Monday, Wednesday, 5-ish. Now, I could modify that slightly, but I give you lots of warning. But basically, right now, it's going to be Monday, Wednesday at 5 o'clock. Okay. Okay, so what I'd like to do is go over the syllabus. Now, does anyone have any questions so far?
I do.
Yeah.
I was just gonna ask, are we ever gonna go in person again?
No, except what I just mentioned.
I mean, no, not like in general, but like, is there like any set date when like the school district thinks we'd go in person?
Oh, I see what you mean. Well, theoretically, they were talking about spring, but the way Delta COVID's been going, I don't know. It may be another spring, may be remote again. I don't know. I haven't heard either way. I like in person. I like to see my students. I like to interact with them. And I think they get more out of the class if I'm there with them in person. But you now know what I know.
Sorry. Can I ask another question real quick, Professor?
Sure.
I know you haven't gone over it yet, but how are we gonna do what are we gonna do with the labs? Do we have to get the lab manuals or the textbooks?
Okay.
I was just curious about what's going on with that. I'll
talk about that when I go over the syllabus. But basically, the textbook is online free. I've also downloaded a copy for you, a PDF in modules on Canvas. I'll show you that too. And then there's a little lab manual you buy at the bookstore. That's very inexpensive. And that's the only thing you have to buy, along with a calculator. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Cool.
I had a question.
Sure.
So I didn't buy the calculator because I have a calculator that I use for calculus. I just wanted to know if this calculator was acceptable to use.
Well, if you used it in calculus, does your calculator do integral and differential calculus?
It's like a TI-84.
That's fine.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
That's a calculator I use all the time. I bought the official recommended one, the 36, but I like the 84 significantly better. So
yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, you'll be in good shape. Okay, I'm going to zoom over to sharing screen, but you can still ask questions anytime you like. Okay, so I'm going to zoom over to, this is what your Canvas looks like. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to log in as a student view here. Okay, so this is what your Canvas shell will look like. Now, a couple things. I filled in the calendar. Now you're going to have 5 units, and each unit is going to have a quiz and an exam. The quiz is going to give you a flavor for what the test is going to look like. Now, I'm doing it under a proctored browser, which is Proctario. And basically, I'm going to have the quiz available or the test available the Wednesday. And you can take that anytime between Wednesday when it's available to midnight on that Saturday, 11:59 p.m. It doesn't matter when you take it. I don't really care, but you'll be timed. Now, the way I do tests, they are 60-minute tests. And I give you 2 hours to take them, just to decrease test anxiety. Give you 2 hours. Now, the way I do tests is I take the test after I make it up. I actually do the tests myself. And however long it takes me to do the test, say I did the test in 10 minutes, I multiply that by 5, and that's how long the typical test is. So in other words, if it took me 10 minutes to do the test times 5, that's 15 minutes. That means that's a 50-minute test. Now, and I still give you 2 hours to do it. So I give you lots of time. Now it's proctored, meaning you can't use any notes, anything like that. But there's lots and lots of time for you. Okay, does that make sense? And I fill this out for the whole quarter. And usually the quiz is a week before the test, just to give you a harbinger of what's coming on the exam. Every one of these is the quiz is a week before the test. Okay, does that make sense?
I have a question.
Sure.
What is the first quiz going to cover? I don't see any in the modules, like specific study materials that we're supposed to focus on for the first week or anything.
If you look at modules over to the tentative lecture schedule, and it will tell you, see the exams on chapter 1 and 2. Exam 2 is on 3, 4, and 9. And then the quiz will be material reflective of mainly chapter 2. Chapter 1 is real kind of, hello everyone, this is chemistry, kind of real vague. The meat in unit 1 is chapter 2. Does that make sense?
Okay, so we just read chapter 2, and then that's what the quiz is going to cover.
Yeah, along with, in my lecture will, correspond to chapter 2 as well, honestly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so let me back out of this. So the way I've got this class set up, let's go to files. I've got 5 units, and the 5 units correspond to the lecture material under units 1 through 5. Unit 0 is just course admin, things like syllabus, lecture lab schedule. This is your textbook I've downloaded for you. If you want to do it online, I have a link in the syllabus to show you that. But I downloaded it for you so you don't have to deal with it. So the only thing you're required in this class is I'm going to jump over to the syllabus, which is right here. Okay, so this is the syllabus. I'm using OneNote. I use OneNote a lot. So what I've done in OneNote here is I pulled up the syllabus so I can write on it and all that stuff. Okay, so this is the syllabus. This is how to get a hold of me, email-wise. For office hours, just contact me. We can set up a Zoom session, or we can talk on the phone, or we can text, whatever we need to do for your office hours. Okay, and I'm very flexible. Whenever you need to contact me, it doesn't have to be a formal office hour. Just contact me, and we can set something up. Okay. Now, again, as I was saying before, this class is designed as a preparatory for Chemistry 400. That means it's mainly going to be strategies on problem solving. It's going to be mainly how to use your calculator for those of you who really kind of never really use their calculators in problem solving. I'm going to give you strategies on how to work some of these problems, and then as well as non-quantitative chemistry parts, like things like ionic naming, non-ionic naming, naming of acids and bases, just that kind of stuff as well. But the main thing is, so if you're a science major, you're in the right class. If you're not a science major, you can stay in this class, but I would recommend Chem 330. Okay, going along with that, as far as outcomes go, you need to be able to apply quantitative, that means numeric, quantitative chemical methods to chemical calculations, including stoichiometry and dimensional analysis. Now, I'm going to be pushing that really hard in this class. I'm going to give you some very, very strategic processes to figure out how to do some of these problems. Sometimes the problems are one step, sometimes there's 7 steps. The process is the same. And I've been doing this for a long, long time, and it makes problems significantly less confusing. Because when you get into 400, you can be the pace is going to be significantly faster than this class. And I want to make sure you're totally prepared. I want my students to achieve better than the other students. That's where I get my ego from, is having my students do well. Okay. All right. It's expected you've done a math class on elementary algebra. And really, the math in this class is really not even algebra. The math in this class is simply basic general math. Ratios and proportions, I would say 95% of it is. You're going to do a lot on significant figures, on precision. But basically, the math is very straightforward in here. Now, when you get to 400, you're going to need to be doing logarithms and some other things. But in this class, you will not be able to, we won't be covering that at all. Logarithms come into play when we talk about pH and some other buffers and some things like that. Okay.
In my high school math class, we actually did like a dummy pH. It's kind of funny.
You did a what in your math class?
In my math class in my math 3 class in high school, when we were doing logarithms, they actually gave us like pHs and like formulas for that to figure out. That's kind of funny.
Yes, well, you're going to be super prepared for this class because we're not going to be actually doing that. But yeah, the problem with math classes when they teach logarithms and they say, oh, an example is pH, they usually limit the pH range from 1 to like 12 or 13. And see, pH can be negative as well. And it can also go up to like 18. And math teachers never talk about that. And so
they mostly talked about like water, seawater, I think lemon or citric acid. They didn't really talk about the bases. They just talked about the acid.
Yeah, and the bases are related to acids through pH as well. It's called POH, and they're related together. But yeah, you should do fine. You should do fine here. Okay, required materials. Okay, you need a computer with internet access and a webcam with microphone, and that's for doing the quizzes and tests. You also need a lab pack from the student store, and that's going to be, has anyone bought their lab pack yet?
I purchased mine and it said that they were actually on back order.
Did they say how much it cost?
I believe I paid $67 for both textbooks in total. I can't remember the individual prices though.
Okay,
I think
Um,
the lab pack was only like $14 if I'm remembering right on its own. So
What is the lab pack?
that's where all your labs material is going to be. The write-up and stuff.
Okay, just double checking.
Yeah, normally, like 5 years ago, we didn't use any kind of free textbooks. You had to buy the textbook, you had to buy the lab manual, and these things can crazily run upwards of like $250, $280. And I just been really fighting that. I believe in OER textbooks, which are the free online textbooks. Students have the least amount of money in the country, and the publishers charge, astronomical amounts of money for these things. And the OER ones, like for example, the one I'm using here is out of Davis and University of California, Davis, and it's very nice. It's totally free. The state has funded that. Actually, the feds have funded it through a National Science Foundation grant, but it's totally free to students. I use the same one up in Washington. It's really quite good, and I've got my whole class mapped to that. And this is the one I downloaded for you under Unit 0. And then you need also some kind of a calculator. The department likes the TI-36, but any of the others, the 84, the 83, the 86, any of those work fine. The main thing is to look for is an EET, which gives you a scientific notation way to link the exponential number and the number from 0 to 9 together instead of it being separate numbers. There's also a textbook and an optional, a number of items optional, but those are strictly optional. And if you're interested in any of those, I would definitely look in the used online versions of these, and the more beat up, the better. I remember a couple of years ago, I was researching textbooks for my class when we weren't using OER materials. And I was able to find the textbook, and the best time to look for used textbook is in the middle of the semester. I was able to find one for $4. It cost me $5 to ship. And this is a $180 book new. And frankly, chemistry doesn't change from edition to issue.
That's insane.
Yes, it is insane. So I recommend to my students, the more beat up, the better. If it's been through a windstorm, dog chewed on it, great. You get it for $4 or $5, whatever. But the content does not change. So that's my recommendation. Attendance. Again, this class is officially asynchronous, meaning I don't take attendance. And the only thing that I have optional for you is attending my Zoom sessions where I record the lectures and the workshop material. But it's totally optional, and I record everything. I highly recommend you get into a study group. Study groups, I used to be a MESA advisor when I was with IBM and a MESA advisor over at River City High School back 20-something years ago. And we did a lot of research on study groups. There is a tremendous amount of research that students in study groups achieve at a much higher level. Tons of research, large peer-reviewed studies just all over the place. So I would strongly advise you to get into one. And one of the reasons why study groups help students study better is students tend to teach each other in a study group. So when a student becomes in a teacher modality or teacher role, that student really has to understand the material to explain it to someone else.
Oh God, that sounds terrible.
Well, someone just says, I can't work this problem. Do you know how to work it? And you go, oh yeah, you have to do blah, 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 blah. I mean, you're now in a teacher role with your friend. That's what I mean. But when you do that, your friend could say, oh, I don't understand what you mean. So then you explain it again and explain it again and again. And also they go, oh yeah. So you, by doing that process, you really understand the concept. And that's one of the big reasons why study groups really help students achieve better. So highly recommended study groups. Now, the thing is, I'm recording all lectures. That means that you can listen to that lecture 89 times if you'd like. Back in, what is it, about 19, no, it wasn't 19, it was about 2005, I started recording all my lectures. And I remember one student, this is up in Washington at Tacoma Community College. She emailed me and said, thank you so much for providing the video. She had watched it 29 times. It was on balancing equations, 29 times. And she was a Russian student who her English wasn't so hot. So she was able to keep repeating the video over and over again. And I've been a big proponent of recorded lectures ever since. So anyway, all my stuff is recorded, all of it. And I have past lectures as well from classes that I've taught where the content is similar. And those I'm going to make those available too. So you not only have the lecture that I do for that session, you'll have past lectures as well. You're going to have 5 tests in here, and I'm going to drop one of them. I'd recommend dropping the lowest one, but you can drop any one you want. And the final exam will be worth 200 points. And you'll be giving for your lab material, that's worth 200 points. That's worth 2 tests. Now there's 2 kinds of points in this class, easy points and hard points. Hard points are test points, easy points are lab points. Labs, basically, I'm going to show you a lab write-up I require. Basically, it's going to be a lab, many steps to it, but it's a lot of work, but it's not hard. It's just putting it all together. Exams are going to be 120 minutes, already mentioned that before. And they're basically, as I was saying also, they're 60-minute tests. And that's not Sunday, by the way. It is Saturday. I'll correct that and upload it after I finish this lecture here. That's at 11:59 p.m. Whenever I say 12, people don't know if it's 12 a.m. or 12 p.m. So I always say 11:59. Okay, if you miss an exam, that will be a 0, and that will count as your 1 drop test. Okay, so there are no makeup exams. Yes.
I was just wondering when are we going to be using the chemistry lab textbooks? Because I did order mine, but it is on back order, and they don't have an estimated date for when it'll be able to. Basically, they don't know when it'll be ready to be picked up.
Okay, if we zoom down here to the lab schedule, that's when you're going to need it, 5th week.
Okay.
So we have plenty of time.
Okay.
Okay. Now, homework assignments are really important. I'm going to provide you with a fair amount of homework. The homework, I'm going to give you the answers and the setup as well. So because I'm giving you the answers and the setup, I'm not going to be collecting it or giving you credit for doing it. The purpose of homework is so you understand the material, so you do well on the tests. Okay. I'm not doing mastering of chemistry. That's a digital online course. One, it costs you money. And secondly, most students hate it because when they test your answer, sometimes you have the right answer, but their parsing software figured out that you didn't do it right. So it won't give you credit for doing it. And you get 0 points for doing that problem that you did correctly all along, not counting how frustrated you are. So I don't assign mastering chemistry in this course or any course I teach. I don't like digital online services because students, they don't do well on them. A lot of students do fine, but there's a fair number of students that do not do well on them, and they get horrendously frustrated, and it's not fair to them, in my opinion. So anyway, everything I do is the old-fashioned worksheet that you can do online. If you have something like OneNote or something, you can do it digitally, or you can print it off and do it with a pencil, eraser, and a calculator. And I also provide all the answers as well. And I not only provide the answers, but I provide the setup on how to get the answer. Because if you get the wrong answer, you don't know why you missed it. So I provide the setup on exactly how I arrived at that answer, along with significant figures and a bunch of other stuff. Okay, so that's the deal on homework. Now, in addition to lecture, there's lab and workshop. Now, the labs, you're gonna have 5 labs, and each one is gonna be worth 20 points apiece. And I'm gonna scale those up to be worth, so all of them collectively together will be worth 200 points. Each lab is going to require a write-up, and I'll go over that when we get closer to when we start doing labs, like probably week 4. I'll go over the detailed lab write-up. I'll have a video on it and everything. And you're going to have to submit that in a PDF format. Now you can do it by hand, writing neatly. If I can't read it, I can't grade it. You can type it out. You can do a combination of typing, writing, diagrams, whatever, but your total package electronically needs to be in a PDF format. Okay. And I'll get to those when we get into the 4th week or so. I'll talk in real detail about how I want the labs written up, etc. And there will be occasionally extra credit opportunities on some exams, not all of them. Okay. This is the point breakdown and how your grade is determined. You're going to have 5 exams. I drop one, so that means you're going to have a total of 400 points possible for your tests. Final exams were 200. Your quizzes in total is worth a test, and then your labs are worth 200. So a total of 900 points. And Los Rios does not do pluses or minuses, so it's strictly an A, B, C, D, F grade. And I do round. So at 89.5 rounds to 90, and 89.44 rounds to 89. Okay. A lot of teachers do not round, but I do. Okay, some of you have accommodations, and we'll work those out together. And most of the accommodations are on test time. Now, because I give tests that are worth 60 minutes, I give you 2 hours for it. There's quite a bit of accommodation for everyone in that. This is the test schedule, and basically I've outlined what chapters each tests are over. Now the quizzes, this would be my quiz 3 is going to cover the same chapters as exam 3. And then your final is going to be 2 hours long. It's going to be comprehensive and cover solutions as well, because solutions are not going to be covered for exam 5. Okay, now the workshops basically are just lots more practice. I'm going to cover for example, in scientific notation, I'm going to talk about concept of scientific notation, and then we're going to practice it a lot. Now these, again, some of you have already mentioned you've had this in high school already and all that stuff. If you don't have the need to work on scientific notation, you don't have to spend your time in the workshop. You probably may or may not have much work with significant figures, and I want you to spend time with dimensional analysis, because I do it a certain way that's consistent with many other professors and textbooks. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page regarding dimensional analysis. Okay. So as far as we're going to have one lecture this week, and that lecture will cover chapter 1, and I'll get into chapter 2. The workshop this week I've covered now, so that's covered today. So we won't have any workshop stuff till next week. So that'll be a separate video. Oops, see here. Okay. How are you guys doing? I mean, this is pretty straightforward.
I'm really looking forward to this.
Good. And remember, I really enjoy teaching. And the important thing is, I want you to succeed. I really want you to succeed. Now, one other thing regarding that, if you do problems differently than me, and you get the right answer, as long as I can follow your logic and setup, we're okay. The problem is if you do it differently than me, I'm getting into partial credit here. If you do it differently than me and get the wrong answer, I need to then look at your setup to see if that makes sense. If your setup makes sense, but your answer is wrong, you didn't do your calculator right or whatever, I'll still give you partial credit. If your setup, I can't follow it at all, I'm not going to give you any credit for it. So just, some of you have had this material before, and a lot of professors do things slightly different, and I'm one on details. I'm very picky about details, and because students, the more details when I do a problem, the better for most students. Some of you are really quick and don't need details, but as far as setup goes, you're going to need all the little details to get full credit for the problem. And you'll see that when you look at the homework where I've just provided the answers. I'll show you the setup. And so your answers basically are 90% setup, 10% actual answer. So if you don't have your calculator working right, or you don't understand how to work your calculator, but your setup is right, you get 90%. Say the problem's worth 10 points, you'll get 9 out of 10 points if you set it up right. Because that's the chemistry. How to work your calculator is not chemistry. So that's where my philosophy is on how I give partial credit. I give very little multiple choice, very little, because there's no partial credit. It's either right or wrong. And sometimes students understand totally the setup, but they hit a wrong key or something like that on their calculator and they get a different answer. So because of that, I don't do multiple choice. It takes longer to grade. I've got a big class. I've got over 50 students in this class, but it's better for you that I don't give multiple choice because you usually do better when I can give partial credit. Remember, your achievement is my goal. Your understanding this material is my goal. That's why I stress setup, because that's where the understanding is. And thanks for that comment, by the way, about enjoying this class. I appreciate that. Okay. And I will change.
What was the comment? I'm sorry.
Oh, they just said they're looking forward to taking the class. So.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
And I am going to change this. It'll be making that 11:59 Saturday p.m. Okay, let's see. All right, so whenever calendar, I went over, now modules will call up either videos or files. So from modules, it will go into files and get stuff. So you can find the stuff under files as well as modules. I like modules a little better, but you'll find all the same material under files. let's see. These are your assignments, and I did not include your final on here. I don't know why I didn't include the final, but anyway, there's going to be an additional final exam for 200 points. So when you go to grades, I need to leave student view. Okay, this is what my grades look like on my end. I'll have all the students down here, and then there will be all the grades going across here. And over here will be your total. Now, the problem with this is it doesn't understand dropping lowest test scores. There may be a way to modify my grades so that it includes dropping the lowest test score. The problem is it'll drop it as you go. That means when you do test 1, it'll drop it because that's the lowest one, because you only have 1 test. When you do 2 tests, it'll drop the lowest one. So it's kind of, the AI is not built in to understand that it needs to drop it at the end. So normally I don't do the automatic one just because it doesn't show your proper score. So if I implement that, I won't implement it till the very end. So it'll then look for the lowest test score and drop it. I don't know if that made sense or not. Okay. Okay, I've covered all the material I wanted to cover. Do you guys have any more questions?
Where will the Zoom links be available for us to join you for your lectures in the labs?
Look for that Sunday night or Monday morning early for the week.
Gotcha. Thank you.
In fact, I'll try to, actually, I think what I'll do is I'm going to schedule them for the whole semester. And then if I need to change them, and I'll just change them individually. But basically, it's going to be Monday, Wednesday at 5.
You said every Monday and Wednesday at 5?
Yeah.
And we'll meet for about an hour, probably.
It depends.
Okay.
I usually go more than an hour. And if we're doing the workshop on top of it, it'll be even more.
Got it. Thank you.
What days? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm finally home, so I can turn on my camera.
Sorry, I wanted to ask, was there anything going to be on Sunday? Because you did mention Sunday, and I just wanted to clarify.
No.
Okay, good.
No, I said I would send out on via email your the Zoom details.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we're all gonna not do anything on Sunday or Saturday. It'll be, or Friday. It'll be Monday, Wednesday. Now, if you want to talk to me about something, just say I'm having a horrendous problem with this dimensional analysis on these 4 problems. I have no idea how you got the answer. And if you want to have a Zoom session, a private Zoom session Sunday night, that's fine. We just have to figure out at the time. And I'm by myself. I'm single. I have 2 dogs. In fact, come on. Here is one of them. This is Lacey.
And here's my cat. And this is Oscar.
Lacey, look, Oscar. I had a orange tabby. His name was Garfield.
Orange tabbies are the.
Yes.
Oh, one more thing.
Yeah.
Grumpy Calico. He hates being picked up, so I can't.
Yeah, I had another cat before my Garfield, and he was a tortie. He was mostly gray, but the same kind of genes. kind of an orange in there as well. She was a
Miller. Oh, she. I was about to ask.
yeah, Gigi was really, really ferocious little cat. Oh, and then Sally's got a cat.
I love your guys' cats so much.
Yeah, she's not cooperating. It's bad lighting. She's actually like a really dark tortoiseshell herself, but and she has a sister who's like twice the size and long haired, so they're like opposites. But yeah.
I like your cat, Jordan.
Thank you. His name's Miso, and he's not having this at all.
No. That's why I like cats, because like they don't care about you. Like, you know what I mean? Like they do what they want.
My cat will like literally bother someone until you give him attention. Like literally every night, if I'm still up, he just meows at my freaking room endlessly.
I don't know if this is true, but I did read that cats are the only animals that domesticated themselves. Like they were like, life would be easier if humans took care of me. So that sounds about right to me.
We kept cats around because they were eating our rats. They kind of came to us because we harbored all the pests, something like that.
Makes
Nature's
sense.
pest control.
Exactly.
That was a symbiotic.
Not during the bubonic plague, because we killed them all thinking that they were causing disease.
Oh, man. Well, I'm a real pet lover. I was a staff photographer. I used to have a photography business, so I'm really into photography. Anyway, I was a staff photographer up in Washington for my local shelter. And I did, that's how I ended up with Garfield, because I was, every time I went by his cage, he put his paw out. No one ever adopted him, so he came home with me one day. So. Cool cat. Okay, good session. We can be as informal as we like on these. You don't have to have your video on if you don't want to, all that good stuff. I always have mine on. I just want to make it as personal for you as possible. Now notice I don't show my messy office in the background.
I had a green screen like yours. I'd have it on too.
You don't need a green screen. If you go down to on your Zoom application, at the bottom it says stop video. If you click on that, for example, now I don't have a green screen.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah,
I like your green screen. I like that green screen, the people in the background.
Hi, everyone. This is San Francisco, I believe. Back at the turn of the last century.
It looks snowy though.
It looks what?
It looks snowy. Maybe it's because it's black and white. It kind of looks like
No,
there's
it's
snow.
because of the noise in the camera. The sensor or the film in this case, this was so poor in those days that it just had noise. It's like on your camera when you jack the ISO up really high, it introduces noise. That's exactly the same concept going on there. So it's not snowing, it's just noise on the film. It does look like, how many times has San Francisco got snow? Not very often, if ever.
Cat hair all over my computer now.
It goes with the ownership. Hair everywhere.
I have a lint roller in every room.
My dogs don't shit. My daughter's got a golden retriever, so her vehicles have got golden retriever hair all over the place. And it's long too. In her house too. She's got a dark wooden floor and that hair just shows up all over the place. Okay, you guys, been a good talk. And I did record this, including all the little pet stuff here. I'm gonna